is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going. What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with that Willie Cauley-Stein. You knew I had to make this video, even though it's going to be early for a lot of y'all. Y'all going to eat it up anyway, like y'all do every video and everything I put out. So I appreciate that and continue to do that. But let's continue to cover the basketball in NBA. We got Willie Cauley-Stein being traded from the Warriors. He's already gone and even spent a full season with the Warriors and already gone to the Dallas Mavericks. As people that forgot or didn't know or don't know who the guy is, Dwight Powell had a Achilles injury that will take him out for the rest of the season. He was a vital part of their offense. He was a vital part of their identity, being able to set screens to allow guys get space on their jump shots or get a Doncic some space and get him going to the basket or getting the defender behind Doncic so that way he can float or just finish or get to the free throw line, which is very, very good and very, very hard to stop when you got Porzingis stretching the floor with other guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., who was always known as a streaky player, but he's playing some of his best basketball, in my personal opinion, for the Mavericks, and I think that's important because a lot of people look at Tim Hardaway as a throw-in or a guy that they just put in a trade just because they didn't want him anymore, and Dallas has really been a good home for him, and they allowed Tim Hardaway to be who he is, but they also allow him to fit within the offense and give him chances to where he can succeed. And I can definitely see Rick Carlisle, as you guys know, and for the people that don't watch the channel as much, I'm a Rick Carlisle believer. He did help them win the title. He had a good defensive scheme against the Miami Heat to help them win that title, and he keeps the Mavericks in the playoffs. He keeps them going. Even when they missed the playoffs, they just didn't have enough talent, or Dirk missed a lot of games, and that just was unfortunate, but it happens in the NBA. But other than that, you give him a decent roster, he's going to find a way to get the best out of it. And you got to remember, he coaches in the Western Conference, so you have to be above 500 usually to make it to the playoffs in the West. And if he was in the East, he probably would have never missed the playoffs. That's just how good these teams have been. And then you play against more weaker teams throughout the year instead of the tough West every single month and throughout the weeks. But I like Luka Doncic, as you know. He's in my top 5 MVP candidates. I was one of the first people that actually had Luka in the top 5 MVP conversation before everybody else started jumping on that, and it's mainly just because he makes his teammates better. He makes their job easier. And Willie Cauley-Stein, I feel like he had a decent season in Golden State. And you look at the numbers, he played 41 games. That's half the season almost. And 37 of those games he started. He got a legitimate 23 minutes per game. He only shot 6 shots a game, which is very, very low. But he was able to finish around the rim to the best of his ability. 56% is reliable at that job. And you look at the free throw shooting, 61%, that's going to be a problem, but you're not going to require him to play big minutes all the time, so he can just go out there and do what he's supposed to do in the minutes that they allow him to get. You look at the rebounds, 6.2 rebounds, that's pretty solid in the minutes that he's playing. You look at the assists, 1.5 assists, 1.2 blocks, and 1.2 steals with 8 points per game, which is very productive, especially for the fact that you're not really giving up anything to get him. Cauley-Stein also signed a 2-year, $4.6 million deal with the Warriors, and that's a deal that they basically had a lot of power of because Willie Cauley-Stein didn't really have as many suitors, so he went with the team that really wanted to show him some type of commitment and give him a decent role. But he's going to be way better in Dallas because they need him a little bit more, and the fact that Golden State runs better when they got great passing bigs and guys that can, really do multiple things in offense and defense, and Stein coming into the draft that he was drafted in, he was a guy that was looked at as a two-way player, a guy that's athletic and long enough to contest guards, a guy that was athletic enough to stay in front of guys while also being a good rotation defender and help defender that his potential showed. He never really lived up to being a great defender in the league. He never became a defensive player candidate like a lot of people thought he could, but he was in Sacramento. He really didn't play with Steph or Clay, which would have made him a lot better, honestly, because of their ability to, space out the floor and give everybody attention. And Willie Cauley-Stein is one of those guys that he rolls hard. He is always ready in the dunker spot, and he's a guy that just outsmarts a lot of people. You've seen what he did in Sacramento last year, even though they decided that he wasn't worth the money. Plus, you got to look at it from their perspective. They got Harry Giles, and they got Rashawn Holmes and all those guys down there. Even Bagley playing the five. So they had an abundance of bigs. So I don't see why Sacramento would want Willie Cauley-Stein, even though he did have a pretty good year for his standards. It made sense for Sacramento to let him walk, and it also made sense for Golden State to make that move. You're not really paying him that much money. You have the flexibility of what you want to do with him, and on top of that, he's on a tradable contract because he can be a double guy depending on how much opportunity you give him, what type of team you have. But plus, he's a productive guy when he is out there. Like I just read his numbers in Golden State. Those are solid numbers for a player that's getting 23 minutes and really don't have the greatest teammates around him and the right teammates to really get the best out of him like they would have did if they had Steph, Clay, and D'Lo. That would have been a tough team to guard. But the fact that Dallas made a move this quick lets you know that they're serious, lets you know that they really do believe that they got something special with Porzingis and Luka Doncic, because this didn't even take 3 days after Dwight Powell injury. And you look at Dwight Powell numbers and people sleep on him, but you also underrate Willie Cauley-Stein just a little bit just because he's not having a season that we thought he could have. Dwight Powell only played 40 games. Willie Cauley-Stein played 41. He only started 37. Willie Cauley-Stein started 37. He got 26.5 minutes. He shot better from the field, but he was a guy that couldn't knock down the three. Stein can't either, but they're around the same free throw percentage. Willie gave you a little bit more on the rebounding end. He gave you the blocks and the steals and around the same points, even though he played less minutes. So Stein isn't the perfect fit, but he's very comparable number wise and play wise to Powell. We never looked at Powell as a rim protector. We never looked at Powell as this amazing player. He was a guy that knew his role and he stuck to that for the benefit of the team. So Stein did the same thing in Golden State. They needed him to play a specific role. They needed him to do specific things, and he just went out there and did it. And you need guys like that. That's why they probably wanted Stein right away, because they seen them do it in Sacramento, and they also seen them do it in Golden State. Plus, they do need a guy that has size, just like everybody in the league, because the league is getting bigger, and big men are becoming a little bit more prevalent now. And he's a legitimate 7 feet without shoes and a legitimate 240 pounds. And then you got to remember, Willie Cauley-Stein, he's been in the league for a couple years, but he's only 26. He's going to be turning 27, but that's not that bad considering that you don't have to keep him after next year, and you don't even have to keep him after this year, to be honest. But Dwight Powell is 28 years old. He's only 6'10", 240. So you get a little bit more length, a little bit more burst, and you get a guy that's a significantly better team defender than Powell was at that time when he tore his Achilles. He was always a solid player, a great role player, but Stein do give you a little bit upside. He do give you a lot more spring and bounce. Then he do give you a little bit more defense than Powell did. But Powell probably will be better offensively in his role. But we actually don't know how Rick Carlisle are going to use Stein. He made careers out of people like Jop. He made careers out of people like Tyson Chandler. Was good. They had DeAndre Jordan. He had a solid season for them. And Willie Cauley-Stein is the makeup of those players. And those are the players that have been successful in this system. And Rick Carlisle knows that, and that's why they went after Cauley-Stein very quickly. So I really want to see what the Warriors are going to do. This opens up a spot for them. They was hard capped because of the D'Angelo Russell trade. this gets them a little bit more wiggle room for them to be able to sign guys to match to like two-way deals and stuff like that. Gives them the ability to do that because they are trading 3.6 million away, which will get them where they need to go to make a move. Whether that's giving more minutes to Marquise Chris, and giving him more money and signing him longer term, or somebody else, they can now have that option, and they didn't really have it coming into this season, and they haven't had it throughout the whole season. So I thought Willie Cauley-Stein was a decent starter. I feel like he was a good player. Honestly, I would rather move other guys than Stein, but at the same time, the Warriors really didn't see Steph Curry going down for this long. They felt like they was gonna have to develop. They felt like they was gonna have to learn on the fly, and that does come with embarrassment. That does come with losing, and they knew that. But nobody thought that Steph would miss the amount of time that he has missed. And once he went down, the season basically was over. Especially because they have no Clay, and Draymond Green got nagging injuries, and so did D'Angelo Russell. So not only did you lose your two best offensive players in Kevin Durant, now you done lost D'Angelo Russell for a couple weeks in Draymond. Plus, y'all already got off to a bad start, and they just was digging the holes and holes and holes for their casket. And now they're in a situation where they got a little flexibility. Now I want to see if they move Burks. Now I want to see if they move another piece, knowing that making the playoffs is not really even an option at this point, unless they just go undefeated for the rest of the season. But I think they should move another quality guy because of their record to get some more wiggle room, especially going into free agency next year. You want to be able to get a good draft pick or two, and you want to be able to at least get some guys on a cheap that can be 2 to 3 years on contract to really fit around Steph, Clay, and Draymond. And if they decide to trade D'Angelo Russell, I think they should take less salary back or aspiring salary back, just so they can, get that room to have more flexibility to add pieces around Steph, Clay, and Draymond, which is important. And I feel like that's why they should make another move, not just to get better, but to actually get a little worse, but allow them to be better next year when Steph and Clay is hopefully healthy enough to make another run at being one of the best teams in the Western Conference. But, I know I got a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans. I know y'all happy it didn't take y'all that long to replace Dwight Powell. Y'all basically getting an identical player with a little bit more defensive upside, a lot more length and size and athleticism. And even though Powell was a great athlete, he's not a 7-footer, and he does weigh about the same amount of weight as Willie Cauley-Stein. Plus, Stein is still on the bargain deal next year. So even if Dwight Powell can't come back right away, y'all still got Stein for next year if y'all want to bring him back, and he does fit the culture and the offense that they want to run. But also, he has potential to make our defense a little better. Now y'all got two rim protectors out there with Kristaps Porzingis and Stein instead of one, which was only Porzingis. So I feel like this is a great trade for Mavericks, low risk move, and you can always get rid of them in the summertime if you don't like them. So this is a low risk move, high reward. Stein can be exactly what they're missing because Powell not coming back. He can fill that spot. And also, you don't have to really have no commitment towards him. This is not a long-term contract, and you're basically giving up nothing. So it makes sense for both teams. And I just want to see what happens with Dallas. If they're gonna make another move to get closer to a championship level team, while Doncic's on a rookie contract, and I want to see what Golden State do. Are they gonna pack it in? Are they gonna try to, upgrade some contracts and make them more long term now that they got a little bit more money to work with? Or is they going to try to trade some of their quality players for money so that way they can try out other prospects or at least get that roster spot open, or at the same time get more money to put better pieces around Steph, Clay, and Dre for next season? So I think this is a win-win for both teams. Makes sense for both teams, and I want to see if they take more moves to prepare for what they're trying to do for this year and next year, and that's all that matters. If you don't win a ring, the goal is to try to get it next year, and I think Dallas looking at that right now. They looking at how much Doncic has improved, how much he has changed, how much he has grown, and he's carrying his team. And now it's about getting him some more help so that way he can carry them to a title, which I don't think they can do this year. But I'm also a guy that didn't pick them to make the playoffs, and they look like a playoff lock. And Doncic is already all-star starter, so that's even better. But let me know what you guys think. Good trade, bad trade, don't make sense, do make sense, underrated, overrated. Is Stein a decent player? Is he a role player? Should he be a starter? Do you think people sleeping on him, overrating him? Or do you think this trade just won't matter? You just get another big to dunk? I think Stein is better than that. I think he's more versatile than that, especially defensively. And he's not on a bad contract, not overpaid, not underpaid, decently paid, and he a good prospect. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for commenting and showing love. And thanks for the guys that continue to buy merchandise. Thanks for the people that continue to show support. I love it. Thanks.